right? One of the fundamentals is if you have one of the questions you always got to be aware of is we never start with anything, a series with anything other than first down. The line to gain is going to be 10 yards. If we have a foul, then we're going to adjust the line to gain so that it's 1st and 10. Unless one thing happens, and what's that?
Dead ball foul.
There's a dead ball foul after
The
ready for play. So if we have a dead ball foul, we haven't had it ready for play, we'll move those chains with the ball. If that referee has blown the ball ready for play and we have an encroachment, or we have a false start, or we have a cheap shot after we've declared that ready for play, now we might end up with something other than 1st and 10.
Cussing out.
Now we got unsportsmanlike and we're starting to think about getting people off the field. Okay? So basically what this is saying, we're going to walk off. One of the ways that, I think it was Sam first told me this, and the way he worded it, Mr. Davis said, you go over there, you walk off the foul, then you look at the chains. Then you decide whether it's first down or not. Right? Okay. So that's one of those fundamentals that you need to be aware of. All right. This is one of the fundamentals. No series can start on any down other than first. And I think that's been on every exam we've ever had. Every one I've ever taken. All right, so first down. Teams still huddle even when they're running a no huddle offense. Because the definition of a huddle is 2 or more players in the same team grouped together before the down. Okay? A shift is the action of one or more offensive players after a huddle or after taking a 6th position. So they huddle, they shift. You know, they're running no huddle offense, and you got 2 or 3 guys over here talking, then they run to a position, they've shifted. Right? And they move to a new position before the ensuing snap. All right, so we've got the ready for play, signifies the referee has signaled the ball ready to be put in play. That's when the 25-second clock starts. Okay, Mr. Winslow talked about that in mechanics, but that's going to be timed by our back judges. If we don't have a back judge, it's going to be timed by our referee. Okay? So, down starts when there's a legal snap. We've already talked about the legal free kick. Down starts when there's a legal snap. Okay? If it's an illegal snap, we blow it dead and we don't let that play get going. We're going to stop it right there. Okay, so we have a legal snap. Ball becomes live and ends when it becomes dead. That's the period of the down. This is real important when you're talking about live ball fouls. This is when the live ball foul happens. Once the play's dead, then you start talking about dead ball fouls. That becomes real important when you're talking about double fouls and multiple fouls, because you can enforce both of them on both teams if one of them's a dead ball foul and one of them's a live ball foul. You can enforce both of them on the same team if one of them's a dead ball foul and one of them's a live ball foul. Dead ball may become live only after a legal snap or a free kick. All right, so we've got a line of scrimmage. It's the vertical plane through which the pointed ball is nearest to each team's goal line. There are technically 2 lines of scrimmages, one here and one here, right?
Right.
What's this space?
Neutral zone.
Nobody can be in that space, correct?
Correct.
Snapper can have, well, he actually can have his head in there also.
Head in there, one hand, one of both hands. One hand can actually go with the tip of the ball.
Right.
That's it. Nothing else.
Okay? So be aware of that. Neutral zone is space between 2 free kicks line. That's what we just went through. All right? Everybody good there? This becomes real important in primarily kicking plays Okay? Scrimmage kick plays. The neutral zone may be expanding following the snap a maximum of 2 yards beyond the offensive line of scrimmage in the field of play. What does that phrase, in the field of play, tell you?
Cannot be in the end zone.
You cannot expand that neutral zone into the
End zone.
end zone. That becomes real important on primarily kicking plays. Okay? Got to give those guys a chance to play, be involved in the game, play. Everybody okay there? All right, now, who's on the line of scrimmage and who's not on the line of scrimmage? That becomes real important on certain kinds of fouls, blocks that can be declared a foul. Offensive player is on his line of scrimmage when he complies with the position requirements of a lineman. A defensive player is on the line of scrimmage when he's within 1 yard of his line of scrimmage. Okay? Doesn't matter if he's on 2 feet or 3 points or 4 points.
Or blitzing.
Sneaking up there trying to get in. That linebacker's trying to get in there right with the snap. He suddenly put himself on the line of scrimmage. It changes what the offense can do blocking him. So, this guy, some of these I've blown up to make them easier to see and they look a little fuzzy. If you can't see them, then I'm sorry. But there's a line of scrimmage, there's a line of scrimmage. This guy's in it, you can see his head's all the way over that ball. I haven't seen the snapper yet that doesn't put his head over that ball. Sometimes on a long snap, they might extend themselves. On a regular play, they're going to put their head over that ball. You see all these guys are behind that line, all these behind that line, okay? This guy's a unique individual. We're going to talk about him in just a minute, okay? That's a back receiving a hand-to-hand snap. We typically refer to him as quarterback. Okay. A has to have a minimum of 7 players legally on their line at the snap. Line judges and linesmen, make sure you take a look at the mechanics. Our requirements have changed a little bit in terms of declaring whether this rule has been met or not. Okay, that's fallen to us, so be aware of that. We're supposed to, and it's a live ball foul, by the way. You're not going to blow it dead. You're going to let it play. But now, if you've got 5, 6 on the line, 5 in the backfield, it's our responsibility to throw that flag. It's no longer. It used to be the referee and umpire, right? And somebody finally realized referee and umpire can't see the line of scrimmage, so it doesn't make any sense for them to try and make that call. Okay, a lineman is any A player who's facing his opponent's goal line with the lines approximately parallel. His hand or foot is breaking the imaginary plane parallel to the line of scrimmage through the waist of the snapper. Some of those guys, particularly those little boys, they'll keep bowing that thing further and further back, which technically is putting kids off the line of scrimmage. I know with Pop Warner and Lexington Rec, we ought to do a little bit of coaching, getting them up in there. We probably should early in the season with the middle schools too. Get them up on there, okay? If he's going to be one of these 7, his head's got to break the waist of the snapper, okay? It doesn't matter where that snapper is on the line. A back is any place who has no part of his body breaking the plane. Right? So he's off the line. One of the things that they love to talk about is there is a possible no man's land that one of those players can get into where he's not actually a back, he's not actually a lineman, particularly if they're young kids running a wing tee or something of that sort. So, again, we might want to do a little coaching early in the season. Later in the season, we might have to start calling those things. Except the player under the snapper who is considered a back. A player who is, and if you go and look at that very carefully, he's got to have his hands in position to receive a hand-to-hand snap. He can't have his hands on the hips of that snapper. Got to have a hand up. Does he have to receive the snap?
No.
No. He's got to have his hands there so that he could. Once he put his hands in there, can he pull them out?
Yes.
As long as he doesn't do it in a fashion that makes it look like there's a play ensuing and trying to draw the team off sides. Because I just saw one game last year where a guy pulled his hand out, started walking this way, the defense kind of relaxed and they snapped it to a back there. It was a legal play the way they did it. Okay? So be aware of that. All right, so here's our line of scrimmage for the offense, line of scrimmage for the defense. This guy is on the line. He's within a yard of that line. This guy is a back. Regardless of whether he's breaking that waist or not. All these guys are breaking it. That guy's a lineman. That guy's a back. It makes a difference in how you can block it. Any questions there? Offensive interior linemen are prohibited from advancing beyond the neutral zone during a forward pass which crosses the neutral zone, but may advance after the ball is in flight. Coaches will mess up on that one all the time. You have a forward pass that's caught behind the line of scrimmage, and these guys are all downfield blocking somebody. They're beyond that neutral zone. That's legal. Okay? Forward pass interference foul can occur only beyond the neutral zone. So if I'm a back over here getting ready to catch that screen pass, I can do anything I want to that guy before he catches it, right?
No.
Where's your limits come?
Almost. Can't hold it.
Can't hold him.
Can't hit him.
Can't hit him in the head.
Can't block him illegally.
Any of those kind of things that would be an illegal contact are still illegal. But you can knock him away from the ball. You can't have pass interference in the backfield.
Easy to block.
Okay? You can only have pass interference on that side of the neutral zone. This is a formation that I have a problem with last year, but we're seeing a lot of it. Okay? In here, we've got 5 men on the line of scrimmage. This guy's on the line, this guy's off. This guy's on the line, this guy's on the line. This guy is not an eligible receiver.
Covered up.
He's covered. We have mechanics for that we let our referee and umpire know that because they are some counting. Okay?
But is it a legal formation?
It is a legal formation, and it's important for us all to know. If these guys want, they can put 10 guys on the line of scrimmage. A lot of them do that on scrimmage kicks now. Okay? This is a formation I had a specific problem with in a game last year because both these guys went downfield, and I released with them, and they threw a pass back here. I don't know where it was caught.
Yeah.
So I dropped the flag for an illegal receiver downfield.
Yeah.
Okay? After talking it through, we realized he caught the ball in the backfield.
Well, you can appreciate that.
No foul.
So that covered up receiver is really only eligible to go into the linebackers if it's a pass. Or move,
That-
you can't go downfield.
If this ball crosses the line of scrimmage, a forward pass crosses the line of scrimmage, and he's gone downfield, we have a foul. If he stands right there, there's no problem. If he backs out of there, there's no problem.
He catches a pass is a problem.
Yeah.
He's an eligible receiver.
If he catches a forward pass, it is a problem.
That's correct.
He can catch a backwards pass. Thank you. You're correct, Mr. O'Keefe. Does that make sense, everybody? We're seeing this a lot, so we got to be aware.
So what if he cracks down to a linebacker, say? He's still basically just in the neutral zone and there's a forward pass downfield. Is that, would you call that as,
If the ball crosses the neutral zone,
yes, sir?
and he's beyond the neutral zone, he is illegally downfield. But now, he can block in there.
It's kind of what I'm meaning.
He could block straight down the line, block this player to allow this player to get outside. That's a legal block. As long as his head's, as long as he's above the waist and in the front. I mean, don't think that, he's got a lot of options here. There's a lot of things that do with it. That's why they're using the formation.
He could go out for a pass, but As long as the pass is caught behind the line of scrimmage, he's fine.
Correct.
He's basically going out as a decoy to try and draw
He's not-
a
he's not
defender
going-
with him, even though he can't catch the pass.
Change that terminology, he's not going out for a pass, he's going downfield.
Yeah, he's going downfield, right?
Yeah.
All the linemen can go downfield if the ball doesn't cross the line.
Right. And that's an important thing that you just said there. If they throw the ball behind the line, and it's a forward pass called behind the line, all these guys can get downfield and block. Mr. Helper.
I was gonna, to reiterate, you can't catch any forward pass at all. You're ineligible to catch any forward pass.
One of the things to be aware, let me make a point here to everybody, make sure you understand. A player who is eligible at start of the down remains eligible throughout the down. This guy is eligible. There's only one way he can get in trouble, and that's if he goes out of bounds and comes back in. He goes out of bounds on his own, comes back in. Okay? He's still eligible, but we're going to throw a flag because he's now illegal participation. Right? Now, if this man catches the ball, throws a forward pass, and one of these guys in the white touches it, anybody can catch it. Okay? So to assume that can't catch it no matter what is wrong. We got to know the whole play. Okay? Everybody good?
What you're saying is he's not eligible. He can actually step back, right?
No.
Untouched on just a clear untouched pass by the, he's ineligible and can't touch any forward pass at all.
Exactly.
He's like a lineman.
Exactly, he's a lineman.
He's ineligible by position.
Folks, one of the things that Mr. Garrett just said that everybody ought to remember in your terminology is that receivers have to be eligible by number and by position. They have to meet both those requirements. Once they meet both those requirements, they're eligible throughout the down. They don't lose it. Now, this guy can run a reverse as long as the handoff or the pass is backwards when he gets it. And I've seen these guys do it. So they still got a lot of options.
What you see a lot of times is they'll initially line up that way. And then one of the guys on the other side will step up just before the snap. And he steps back, and as long as they are set for 1 second, it's a legal formation and no motion or anything like that. But they'll do that to throw off the defense.
Now, later on, we're going to get into the rules specifically about formations. For those of you that didn't hear Mr. Edwards, what he's saying is that we can shift. These guys can shift. So he's ineligible in this photograph. I don't know how he ended up. This guy might have backed off the line and he suddenly became eligible. Okay? So he can't become eligible. This applies at the start of the down, which is when? The legal snap. Okay? And you are, just as you are eligible throughout the down, you're ineligible throughout the down unless B touches the forward pass. Then suddenly everybody can grab it and advance. Okay? Good ideas there. Thank you. All right, so we have a play from scrimmage. So those guys are lined up. They're going to have a play. Live ball, ball's in play. Ball comes live and the ball is legally snapped. Free kick. So we have a play. Scrimmage is the action. That's the definition of the action of the two teams during the down. Okay, these start to get real important to your referee when you go and say, I had a foul. When was the foul? Well, it was during the scrimmage action. And he's going to say, what? You better say it's live ball or dead ball. Okay, that's what he wants to hear. Okay, snap is legal act of passing or handing the ball backwards from his position. It's got to be one continual motion, moving backwards. It doesn't have to go between his legs. Some of those guys do that water bucket thing where they're moving it, flipping it this way. As long as it's going backwards, he's okay. So be aware of
If it
that.
hits a lineman, it's an illegal snap.
Yes, sir. You're correct. Thank you.
Still a snap.
Sir?
Still a snap.
Still the snap, it's just there's a foul.
Just
Involved.
foul.
Okay, snapper's player who's facing his opponent's goal line, shoulders are approximately equal. Scrimmage kick formation, the snapper remains a snapper until he has a reasonable opportunity to gain his balance and protect himself. Okay? Mr. Randolph no, I'll tell you that later. Yeah, well, I will. One of those coaches that we all have a real problem with that's up in Anderson now, that used to be in the Lexington
Start early.
School, was at South Aiken getting his fanny handed to him. He was real humble. I didn't see any of the nastiness y'all made reference to. He crossed midfield once. It was because his snapper was hit without having the opportunity to protect himself. That was the only time he crossed the line at midfield. He was a very humble man that night. So it's just interesting. Okay, moving on. All right, so we have the snap. Snap begins when the snapper first moves it. Must be moved in a quick, continuous backward motion. He can't jerk it. He can't start it and start over. He can't pick it up and throw it backwards. Some of those young kids have fits with the ball because what they'll do is I know everybody can't see this, but he'll have the ball on it and he'll pick it up and then snap it. And I think most of us say, okay, he's a 14-year-old kid learning how to do this. We got to work with him. But on Friday night, even those long snaps have to be in a continuous motion backwards. All right? And snap ends when it touches a back or the ground. Okay? Before it touches an A lineman. If it touches an A lineman, then we got the situation that Mr. O'Keefe mentioned. Okay? Encroachment occurs when the player is illegally in the neutral zone. You know, I mentioned the other day about the differences between the college game and the high school game. If you put the word, if you get an e-book of the rule book, which you will be able to do when they release that, right after the exam, is that right? But you'll get it because you'll want it. You'll want to have it on your phone. But
It's
if
updated.
the 18 book is available, get the app. You want it on your phone, okay? But you can do a search on there. If you put the word offsides on your e-phone, it won't come up. The word is not used in the high school game, okay? We have encroachment and we have false starts. Defense can encroach. Offense can encroach or have a false start. Those are fouls. While the ball is still dead, we're going to stop it, along with an illegal snap. I think that's about it, isn't it? Am I leaving one out? Everything else is going to be a foul at the snap, but we're going to let it play, such as an illegal motion. Right? Illegal shift. We're going to let those play. Right? And notice they mentioned this again about that entering player. Okay, snap ends when it touches the ground on any player. Right. Now, handing. So on our first down, what these guys decided to do was run play. So he's going to hand it to a teammate. Okay? Handing the ball is transferring the ball of possession from one player to a teammate in such a way that the ball is still in contact with the first player when it's touched by the second player. I miss Veer football. I love good old-fashioned Veer football when they ran it well. Handing the ball is not a pass. That's important because a pass can be incomplete. A handoff cannot be incomplete. It can be fumbled. Right? Excuse me?
Well, if he just drops it, I mean, before the makes possession of it,
Say that again?
Say,
It's a fumble.
if he possesses it.
A1 has the ball. If he goes to hand it here, the handoff is unsuccessful. It was fumbled.
Have to have possession in order to handle it. You have to have possession in order to handle it.
Right. Now, what you're thinking was if it was turned and pitched, now we're getting into the muff issue, which becomes important. What? I'm sorry?
So, yeah, you're right. You have to have possession in order to have handling.
Right.
If the quarterback is getting attempted to hand it and he dropped it, that's a fumble.
Right. Okay, we're good?
Fumble is from a possession.
You can't have handling without possession.
Right, exactly. And that.
Forward hand occurs when the ball is released, and the entire ball is 1 yard in front of the runner. Now, going back to the discussion we were just having, quarterback takes the ball, he's a runner. Okay? As long as he's got that ball in his hand, he's a runner. Until he does something with it. Right? Now realize he can hand it forward. Okay? As long as he's behind the neutral zone. You'll see a lot of these teams that run that little speed option, or excuse me, the speed sweep, wide play. Some of them will hand it, some of them will toss it. Why does it matter?
Tosses it forward pass.
If he tosses it and it's dropped, we're going back to the previous spot. If he tries to hand it and it's dropped, we got a loose ball and things are going to start happening. Right? Okay. Now, you watch those guys run the old-fashioned veer, and that quarterback will run that thing all the way up in the line of scrimmage. When they run it really well, that ball will get way out here before he pulls it out or lets it go. Okay? They're trying to run it in the neutral zone. So you got to give them, I feel you got to give them a little leeway on that thing if they're running it really well. Okay? Backwards handing occurs when the ball is released with any part of the ball is on or behind the yard line where the run is possessed. You can do that beyond the line of scrimmage. Forward handing, behind the line, behind the neutral zone. Actually, you could do it in the neutral zone, too.
The ball has to be completely past B's side of the neutral zone.
Completely,
Illegal.
it has to be beyond B's line of scrimmage. Okay? Backward handing anywhere. All right, now running. This is important. The runner is a player who has possession of the live ball or is simulating possession. One of the reasons a lot of these guys have gotten out of veer football is because that quarterback's the most important player he's got, and he takes that thing and he does that and lets it go and then gets smacked right in the face. Over and over and over. And coaches are saying, that guy's too valuable, I got to get out of the veer football. That's one of the reasons you'll find. If you talk to coaches, that's why they're doing it. So, a runner, and that's what we had to be very aware of the word runner also includes that guy that's simulating possession. That's become real important on a lot of our exam questions. Live ball is in player possession or it's loose. If it's loose, it's in team possession. The ball is always in a team's possession. Players in possession of the live ball is a runner. Illegal fair catch signal is a signal by a runner. I pulled this down here because it applies to a runner. That's the only time you have an illegal. Any other foul that involves that fair catch signal is probably going to be an invalid fair catch signal. We talked about that Monday. If I need to go back to that, let me know next Monday, and I will. All right? After a kick's been called or after the kick has been recovered. All right? Okay, blocking. Blocking by either team is permissible. The defense will block. There's some certain rules that have been included to allow the defense to block on a scrimmage kick play and to allow the offense to use his hands on a scrimmage kick play. So be aware of that. Those aren't fouls if there's a kick in the air. All right? Unless it's a kick, catch, interference, pass interference, or a personal foul or an illegal block. Okay? Otherwise, you can block. Blocking is instructing an opponent by contacting him with any part of your body, of the blocker's body. Offense blocker is a player who is blocking or in position to block by being between your blocker even if you don't make contact. Okay? That's what that's saying. Tackling the use of hands, arms, legs, body in defense by a defensive player in his attempt to hold the runner or to bring him to the ground. Okay, those go hand in hand. According to everybody, those are the two most important things, blocking and tackling. In the definitions, they have the two types of blocking that we're allowed to use if you're on offense or defense. Blocking, a player may contact opponents with the arms and hands provided the technique is legal. The legal techniques are as follows. closed or cupped hand technique. Elbows may be inside or outside the shoulders. That's what that's referring to. The hands must be closed or cupped with the palms not facing the opponent. Right? Can't do that. Forearms are extended no more than 45 degrees. I looked all over. I literally spent about an hour and a half looking for a photograph of this technique. I think every offensive line coach in the country quit teaching it 20 years ago. I finally found a photograph of it. Some of us remember this guy.
Yeah, but they were winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Well, they never won it on my electric football game. The Cowboys always beat them. Okay? But this, y'all remember these guys. That's the technique right there. But they don't teach that anymore. You know, because coaches have gotten wise and they've realized the better technique is the open hand technique. Okay? It's advanced. The hands have to be in advance of the elbows. Inside, and these are important words, inside the frame of the blocker, inside the frame of the opponent. The frame is the shoulder pits down to the hips. Right? That's where everything's got to be. At or below the shoulders, you can't pop him in the head. That is a definite foul. You can't hit him below the waist unless he jumps up in the air. You can hit him in the head if he ducks on him. Just be aware of that. Okay? Open palms are facing the frame of the opponent and open. Now, you can find lots of pictures of that. Here it is being taught, here it is being played. Okay? And the most common foul I see in association with that is those offensive line coaches teaching to grab them, hook it, pull them in tight where we can't see it. I have Rick, Mr. Dolan, what's your rule on that? How you identify it?
Well, if he's got him, I'm okay with it until he wants to break loose. If he tries to turn, and he won't let him. Right there, I got
You see that?
That's
right. You see that jersey start stretching, and every time I've thrown it and turned to a coach and said, "Coach, if I see the jersey stretching, I'm going to throw a flag." They never argue with you. They'll stop right there. Okay? So this is the technique being taught. This is the technique being used. It's a regular kind of a...
Jay, I'd say the back guy on the left one, the back blocker, he's got his palms up underneath the bottom of the shoulder pads, which is a great technique because it's almost impossible to see.
The finger,
I taught for 20 years.
the thumbs go up under the shoulder pads. And the only way you can see that is when he tries to break loose, he can't turn.
Right. So you got... my thing is just see the jersey start stretching, you know you got a foul. You know?
But the rule,
If we see that, even if the jersey's not stretching, we will throw it.
let's don't get into interpretation of what's all right with you, but the rule says open hands.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. It says open hands.
We'll teach you how to
Open
differentiate
hands.
later.
By the way, that means he can't be punching him in the chest like this either. Okay? Right? Moving on. Players may. All right, now, an offensive player may use his hands and arms when he's a runner, during a kick, push, pull, or ward off an opponent when the ball is loose. Can't grab a jersey, you can pull the player. Okay? Kind of a reverse swim. Don't grab anything. Right, Mr. Betcher?
Yep.
Okay? You gave me that look like maybe not.
Well, yeah, don't grab. Just
Yeah.
push.
Defensive player may also use unlocked hands and to ward off a player. He can't make fists. He can't be slinging his arms. He can't be throwing elbows. Okay? Those things start getting to be an issue to ward off a blocker. Okay, a note here, when a player simulates possession of the ball, reasonable allowance may be made for failure of the defense to discover the deception. That's reasonable. We have to have a little bit of logic. If they're just beating the guy up because they know they can, Alright? This is not cancel the responsibility of the end defense player to exercise caution. Hold those kids accountable, and if you, first time you see it, say something to them. Second time you see it, throw a flag. But the blocker cannot. Blocker's hands may not be locked, may not swing, throw, flip an elbow or a forearm so that it's moving faster than the blocker's shoulders. Now we got some issues. Okay? Shot block. Okay? Shot block is a combination block of two more players. Got to be two players. There's a nice little chart in there. When we get to rule 9, when you get to rule 9, we'll discuss this in more detail. But basically, if he's not the runner, you can't have a combination block where one blocker is above the knee, one blocker is below the knee. That's a safety issue. We got to protect those kids' knees. There's nothing worse than to have to deal with a 14-year-old kid with a torn up knee. Interlock blocking. If you look at old films, you'll see Jim Thorpe running behind three guys with their arms locked together. Can't do that anymore.
Weird.
Yep, that used to be what they did on the kickoffs. Okay, the blocker also cannot, this was a change last year, clipping his block in the back against an opponent when the initial contact is from behind, at or below the waist, and not against the player who's the runner. Notice it doesn't say offense or defense in here. Okay? The defense can be flagged for clipping. Blocker can usually cannot. Blocking in the back is a block against an opponent when the initial contact is in the opponent's back, inside the shoulders, below the helmet. When it gets above the helmet, it gets into different things. When it gets below the waist, it gets into different things. He's not between a run. Okay? Now, this is the free blocking zone. Okay? Free blocking zone extends laterally 4 yards on either side of the spot of the snap. Now, if they've got an unbalanced line, it doesn't matter. You can take a tackle and put them outside that block. It is 4 yards on either side of the spot of the snap. Okay? It is 3 yards behind each line of scrimmage. So it's actually more than 6 yards. It's 6 yards plus the length of the football. If you're getting into that technical of a definition of it on the field, you got a lot better eyes than this old guy does. Okay? Players in the free blocking zone, when any part of his body is in the zone at the snap. So if you got a linebacker creeping up in here, he's in that zone. That matters because it changes what they can do to one another. Okay? The ball, the blocker, and the blocked are all in the free blocking zone. Blocking below the waist is permitted when the following conditions are met. Okay? All players involved, the blocker and the block, and the contact is in the zone. Blocking below the waist is making initial contact below the waist from the front and side. Blocking below the waist applies only when the opponent has one or both feet on the ground. Right? Blocking in the back is permitted in the free blocking zone. You can block below the waist, you can block in the back as long as everybody is in there and the ball is in there. Right? So you got to have the ball, the blocker, and the block. One of the things that they'll get more into later when they're talking about blocking is when does that zone break down? Free blocking zone disintegrates, and the exceptions for blocking below the waist are gone when it disintegrates. The tricky thing is the shotgun formation or the pistol formation or any of those formations where that back is not taking a hand-to-hand handoff. Okay? So if he's not taking a hand-to-hand snap, the free blocking zone is going to disintegrate almost immediately. If that offensive lineman's initial movement is to block below the waist, we are not going to throw a flag on that. If he takes a false step, if he backs up out of there and then does it, any of that kind of stuff, we need to throw the flag. Everybody good with that explanation? On Byars? Okay? Moving on. This guy right here is fixing to block him below the waist. They're both in that line. That is a legal block. These guys are doing a combination block here. That is not a chop block. This guy out here is reaching him. That's a block that they teach a lot. They really work hard on teaching these guys how do you get your head on the outside hip of that defender. That's how you get the ball out outside on the sweep. Okay? We've got no issues with anything that's going on here. Those are well-coached offensive linemen. Okay? No tripping unless he's the one. That's again a safety issue. There was a Minnesota Viking that had his knee torn up because an opponent leg whipped him. Am I remember right?
San Francisco. I think.
Yeah, tore up his knee. I mean, and so that's again a safety issue. We don't allow tripping. Okay? Tackle the man the ball, the man pretend like he's got the ball. Okay? Tackling definition shows up again here for you. Okay? Now, hurdling. Hurdling is an attempt by a player to jump with one or both feet or knees foremost. If his knees are leading or his foot is leading, it is hurdling. If he is diving over it, it's not a foul. If the opponent has his feet off the ground, where he is diving at the opponent, then the runner can leap over him in any fashion he wants. Good?
Good.
All right, now, I'm not going to get in. Yes, sir.
We kind of raised over it. In high school football, you can trip the runner. There was an exception in there. We didn't exactly go over it. You gave the definition of tripping.
Yes, sir.
You said
But
that.
if the runner has possession of the ball, you can trip. We said that.
You said
And,
that.
and there's nothing wrong with us repeating that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with us repeating that, because that is something that you will, particularly when you're doing youth games, you'll hear parents start screaming on the sideline, they tripped him, they tripped him.
We're the only level that
Okay.
allows it.
College and pro, you cannot do that.
That is correct.
I don't care. I'm still having trouble learning these rules. I can't learn those other kind of rules. All right. Now, targeting, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I'm hoping that Dr. Messer will do similar to what he did for us last year with the targeting. I thought he did a very good job. One thing I will make a point of is that this phrase has been changed. Did you have anything to do with that, Mr. Hewley?
I did.
I'm proud of you. Thank you for doing that. Because the way the phrase used to be, I thought it was confusing. You're not a passer until you throw the ball.
They didn't know the definition of a passer.
Right. You're not a passer until you throw the ball. You're not a passer because you're standing there like this. And so but that doesn't mean that you can't do something illegal to him. So don't realize that.
Not
Sir?
a passer if it's an illegal pass.
Right. That's an important thing to know also. Okay, but this is something that will be gone over much more detailed later. I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. I hope everybody's okay with that. And you will hear people scream targeting in youth football and JV football and B team football 4 or 5 times a game.
See you, George.
Ignore it. You can't argue with them. They don't hear you. Just move on. All right. Defensive player. Old wording was the player is an actor just throwing a pass. Now the new wording is a passer. And this was actually from the release this year. I like this change myself. Okay? All right, now, disqualified player, he's out. So you run first down, everything happens, somebody throws a punch. He's out of there. Okay? That can't be, the other team can't say, we're not going to make him leave. Okay? Once you say that somebody's going to be disqualified for fighting, he's gone. If he starts kicking at somebody when he's laying on the ground, get him out of there. I don't care if he's 12 years old, get him out of there. That's the only way they're going to learn. They're going to argue with you and fight with you, but all of these youth commissioners will back you on that. You know, all these high school coaches will back you on it. They start throwing punches. All right, so we had a foul. All right, for the next thing we do is we're going to find the captain. Referees will talk more about how you manage that, but you got a foul, so you're going to get the captains there. And he's designated represent. Here's another list. During the pregame, overtime time, coin toss. There's a limit of 4. We'll get into that probably more when we talk about the mechanics of it. Sometimes we'll have a simulated coin toss, because some of these coaches like to do the coin toss while their kids are still warming up, so they can say, hey, we're on the receiving team. Okay? Penalty decisions following the foul, that really ought to be in quotations. You'll see a lot of our referees will take those players and actually turn them to look at the coach and say, this is your options. I'm talking to him and looking at that sideline. Okay? Because the coach can lose his job. This kid's still going to get his diploma. Right? And ball placement. Here's that list.
Going to the 9th grade next year.
Here's the list. Learn the list. Ball placement on a try, a kickoff, after a safety, after a fair catch, after an awarded fair catch, after a touchback, or to start the overtime. Learn that list. When do we have an awarded fair catch? Kick catching interference. Okay? So if he's there waiting to catch it, somebody nails him, bumps him, grabs him, hits the ball before he gets a chance to catch it, any of those things, then we're going to award a fair catch. There may be a foul included on that also. If we're doing our job right, there'll be a flag there. They'll have to decide how to manage it. Okay? When we turn them to face the sideline and say, Coach, let me talk to your captain. All right. Now, this is the number one thing, Mr. Bolin, in this right, the number one thing you want to know when I come over to you and say I have a foul is going to be, is it a loose ball play or running play? When you say?
Pretty close, one of them, yeah.
Now, I mean, that's the first thing that, and I will say this also. This will save you a lot of trouble when you're working on your case plays on the exam. That's one thing that I'm still learning myself, but the first thing I think I got to do on a case play is say, is there a loose ball involved? Kicks, forward passes, notice that's legal again. Okay, forward kicks, backward passes, including the snap, runs in which precedes the kick or illegal kick, legal forward pass, all that. Okay, those are loose ball plays. Okay, everything else is a running play. When you go to your referee with the flag, loose ball play, Mr. Referee. Okay? Well, it's possible to have several running plays during a down, with each of them having its own basic spot for penalty enforcement. There can only be one loose ball play. Right? Throw a forward pass, that's my loose ball play. Everything that happens after that's a running play. Even fumbles, even muffs, even those things. Right? Everybody good? Spot of the foul is where the foul occurred. If it's out of bounds, guy ran out of bounds, he got hit late, where's the spot of the foul?
Where he went out of bounds.
Yard line extended on which the foul occurs. Basic spot is a point of reference. That's going to be real big later. I'm going to spend some more time with this Monday. So I'm going to run through this pretty quick right now. Spot where the run ends is where the ball becomes dead and runner's possession. Where the runner loses player possession. The spot of the catch or recovery when the momentum rule is in effect. The momentum rule is one of the most technical things in the game to me. Okay? So we'll let those guys talk about that later. Enforcement spot is the point from which the penalty is enforced. It's the succeeding spot where the ball would next be snapped. The basic spot is where the ball is dead. Probably where your foul was thrown, but that might not be where you're going to enforce it. You might enforce it from the succeeding spot, and you might enforce it from a previous spot. Does that make sense? I can give you two examples that'll help. Roughing the passer. That's going to be enforced from a succeeding spot if he completes the pass. So he throws his pass, his teammate catches it, runs 20 yards downfield, he gets nailed in an illegal fashion, we're going to mark it off from the succeeding spot.
What if he completes it and he fumbles and he gets the ball and runs a couple of yards and then he fumbles it back and the receiver gets it back?
And we're going to ask Mr. Saunders to explain that to you later in the session. Okay? I'm not going to get that deep into it today. Okay? If that bothers somebody, I'm sorry. But we're going to work on through it. Previous spot where it was last snapped. An example of that would be if you had an illegal motion, offense runs the ball, they gain 20 yards, we come back to the previous spot to enforce that illegal motion. Okay? I'm not because it gets that technical in place,
You said always, that's the only reason I said it.
but we're going to talk about that later. Okay? I just don't want to get into that. Okay? I'm not qualified to. Ultimately. Okay, so then we have that plays over. We're going to second down. We have fewer rules every time because we keep getting around. We're about out of here. Where the next down, first down, determined at the time the ball becomes dead and after considering the effect of any act except non-player sportsmanlike. The ball's dead. It's 3 yards from the line to gain. You have a dead ball, 15-yard foul. You mark it off, then you look at the line to gain, or you passed it.
More than likely.
That's more than likely, but that's what that fundamental is asking you to realize. The only defense fouls which automatically cause first down are roughing the kicker or holder, roughing the passer, or roughing the snapper. There's another list to learn. When a player on defense uses his hands or arm, if the hand must be in advance of the elbow at the time of the contact, shoulder below the hip. Okay, all that's saying is you can't throw the elbow, you can't punch him in the chest, okay? You can't hit him above the head unless he ducks and you're already in your motion, right? It looks more complicated than it is. That's not a tough rule. All right, second down, they're going to throw a forward pass. Passing the ball is throwing the ball that is in player possession. In the pass, the ball travels in flight. Notice it doesn't say direction there. Forward pass is a pass thrown with initial direction toward the opponent's inline. Prior to releasing the ball on a pass of the opponent passer, it's contact and the ball is released as forward pass if his arm was moving forward at contact. All right? The end line is the outer limit of the zones. We talked about the lines the other day. Forward pass has gone beyond the neutral zone if at any time during the pass the entire ball is beyond the neutral zone. Even if it gets blown back this way somehow. Even if it gets batted back that way somehow. Everybody good? Forward pass ends when it's caught, touches the ground, or is out of bounds. So it can be out of bounds and it hasn't hit the ground yet, because the player is standing out of bounds and he bats it. Okay? So I'm on the 20. I throw the ball this way. I throw the ball this way. I throw the ball this way. It's a forward pass. Right? I throw the ball this way. It's a forward pass. Fastest player who throws a legal forward pass. Somebody made that point a little ago when we were talking about roughing the passer a little bit. He's a passer until he has a chance to protect himself, is what the second part of this is basically saying. Until the pass ends, until he moves to participate. He's got to have a chance to protect himself. Penalty for one of the 5 illegal passes is loss of 5 yards, and the down is counted except for a forward pass following a change of team possession. So if we have an illegal, there's 5 illegal passes. Right? We'll get those before you're out of here. Loss of down aspect of penalty has no significance. It's their change of possession or if the line of game is reached. Okay, so if he passes the ball forward and he's well beyond the line of game, then you enforce the foul and the ball, now the dead ball spot is beyond the line of the game. It's still first down. Everybody understand that? Loss of down is the loss of the right to replay it down. Backwards passes, pass thrown in the initial direction is with or toward the runner's end line. Parallel with or toward the end line. Those really good Veer football teams, you'll see that quarterback pitch that ball and it'll go straight down the line. And that running back will be headed upfield when he catches it. Back in the 70s when Furman was running the Veer, that tailback would be headed toward the goal line when he caught that pitch.
You guys get the word lateral out of your vocabulary. It's a forward pass or a backwards pass.
One of the things that we really got to do, and thank you for saying that, Mr. O'Keefe, is we really have to get the jargon right. You know, you've got to use the right terminology. It makes, you got to know if it's a muff or a fumble. It makes a difference. You got to know if it's a backwards pass or a forward pass. It makes a difference. And knowing the jargon is knowing Rule 2. Batting is intentional slapping. Batting is not necessarily illegal. There are certain times it's illegal and certain times it is not. We'll get more in that when we talk about forward pass in the later rule. Okay. Any pass in flight may be batted in any direction by an eligible receiver unless it is a backward pass batted toward the forward by the passing team. What that simply means is if I turn and pitch it to my teammate and my teammate bats it, slaps it forward to one of his other teammates, we've got a foul. If he catches it and throws it, as long as that's the first forward pass, it's legal. Okay? And I just mentioned one little thing to be aware of. In high school, I don't know where it is in other games, but in high school ball, you can only have one forward pass. So when they throw that screen out there and he catches it, and then he throws it downfield, it has to have been a backwards pass first. Good? You can have as many backward passes as you want. Participation is any act or action by a player or non-player that has an influence on play. Okay, the restraining line around the outside of the field, no person including but not limited to. All this list, this is not a list I try to learn. I don't know if I should remember this or not, but basically I know who's got to be outside the restraining line. Everybody but the players and the officials. Everybody else ought to be outside that restraining line. If he is a non-player member of that team, tell your head coach about it. Okay? If he is a WIS or WLTX cameraman, tell game management about it. That's basically your athletic director. Okay? Maximum of 3 coaches are allowed in that area. When the ball is dead. When it's live, they need to get out of there too. That's our space to move. Always like to run into them when they're in there, as hard as I can.
And then flag 'em.
Unless they're an offensive line coach, then I duck them. That's the restraining line. This is the word that's in the rule book, and I think it ought to be taken out of the rule book. But that's the editors to do. That's the restricted area, not the coach's area. When the ball's live, that's my area, right?
That's right.
That's one change that needs to be made. None of these coaches can wander down here. If you're doing Pop Warner ball, or you're doing Lexington Rec ball, or you're doing B-team ball, you watch out for those varsity coaches sneaking up over here.
You gotta call this play.
They'll try and get in there, and they'll be yelling back down here. You know, that guy's out of position, running number 10, whatever. Get him out of there. He's coaching, get him out of there. They can go back to his team balls. Okay, don't allow the cheap shot. That's all the blind side rule is. Don't allow the blind side cheap shot. My rule of thumb is probably going to be told to me I'm wrong, but my rule of thumb is, does that player have a chance to make a tackle? If he does, he's fair game as long as he is hit with open hands first. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. He didn't say anything. I got a chance.
I wasn't listening to him. The restricted area is in the rule book.
It is? Okay. I took it out.
Update your chart.
I will. I'll take another photograph. Thank you. That's okay. I did this before I went out of town. I didn't look at this while I was in Europe, okay? Okay, illegal helmet contact, just keep them off the helmet. I think that's pretty straightforward. Butt blocking, don't let them lead with their head. Face tackling, spearing is an act, and I think this is important, by any player who initiates contact against an opponent, including a runner who likes to run like old Larry Zonka did. I've called that foul, and I have no qualms about calling it because I feel like I'm protecting the runner. When he starts putting his head down and trying to run like a battering ram, take care of it. When the coach gets mad, say, I'm sorry, coach, I like him more than you do, obviously. Don't let them lead with their head on either side. Targeting, takes aim, initiates contact against the opponent, butt to shoulders, with the helmet, forearm, hand. Basically what they've done is, if you go back, and Doc will talk more about this, lead with the hands. If they lead with the hands, it's okay. We've had that rule 1 year. I think 2 years they'll probably get it down. Okay? If they lead with the hands, it's going to be okay generally. Not always, but generally. Okay, so he's diving for the first down. Forward progress ends in advancement of the ball toward the opponent's goal line in a runner's possession, or the forwardmost point of the ball when it is fumbled out of bounds is determined as a dead ball spot. Okay? If this is my line to gain, I have to get the ball there, not my body. Okay? That's all that rule says. When an airborne player makes a catch, forward progress is the furthest point of advancement. If he makes the catch in the end zone, and then he gets pushed out and tackled in the field of play, what do we have? Everybody good with that? Mr. Duvall, what do you think? Everybody good? He catches the ball, and he's pushed out of bounds, and then comes down. Okay, as long as he's not carried. Okay?
Well, first off, he hasn't caught it. He hasn't caught it.
Thank you. Remember, in the definition of a catch, you got to make contact with the ground. So that really kind of solves your problem if you know that definition. Yes, sir. Okay, so got third down. He didn't make it to the first down. We got third down. An interception is catch by an opponent as a forward pass or a fumble. Either one can be an interception. I don't think I've heard anybody use it that way, but just be aware it's in the rules. Okay, fighting. Any of these kind of actions, he's ejected. Whatever else you do, make sure you get him off the field. Write his number down and anybody who helps him. Okay? And we'll talk about it when they get into the mechanics of it also, but you don't put your hands on them. If anybody comes off the sideline, write his number down. Be ready for the call from Mr. Winsky, because you'll have to answer who they were. He's probably already seen the film, so you need to get it right. Okay? Penalty enforcement of any dead ball, non-player, unsportsmanlike fouls exceeding the spot unless the foul occurs on a scoring play and scoring team chooses to enforce on a kickoff. Look, this gets a little sticky because there's a couple of times that it says kickoff. Sometimes it's succeeding spot. So that'll come up when they talk about Rule 8 and about Rule 10. Okay, folks? All right, so all this happened. We're not happy with the outcome. Coaches are starting to scream on the sideline. Now we're going to have a coach-referee conference. Okay? I have to say this about the mechanics of that. One of the wing officials is going to go over there with the referee. Your job is kind of like being a professional golf caddy. Keep up and shut up. It's the referee's job to handle it. Your job over there is to make sure that if there's any foul language that comes out of that coach's mouth, you can verify it when he calls the high school league. Okay? You're a witness. If he's complaining about what you did, the referee will probably take the back judge with it. Okay? Same thing. Now, some of our referees will have a coach that will be very polite and say, I need an explanation. Sam did this with me at Lugoff. He said, Mr. Byars, would you come and explain it to him? And I explained it to him, and coach said, thank you, that's all I need, and went back. But these referees, in my experience, they're not going to throw you under the bus over there. Okay? They need your support. So be aware of that. You're going to accompany him over there. It's the referee's conference, not yours. When you feel like interjecting something, bite your tongue. Okay?
Who do you call a timeout on this, sir? You call a timeout on the team, the coach?
The referee, the coach can call a timeout to ask for that conference. If the referee decides that the ruling on the field needs to be changed, then it'll be changed and no charge timeout will occur. If the referee decides that the call was correct, then he'll charge a timeout against the coach. If he has no more timeouts, then he'll charge him with a delay of game.
I want to
Mr.
mention
Betcher.
that, Jay, that sometimes the referee decides weird things have happened, coaches need an explanation that keeps them calmed down, gets the folks back on what they do coaching the kids.
And in those situations, that's an official timeout. And often I've had referees say, okay, we're getting things a little too rough here. I'm going to talk to both coaches. Or I'm going to explain to this coach what just happened. Or something of that sort. That's a referee's discretion. Okay? That's one of those things that I'm on the sideline and I'm talking to that guy over there. And if it's a call that was made on the other side of the field, I can't see it from here, coach. I don't know how you can. You know, if he's trying to say that guy got tackled before he hit that pylon over there, coach, he's 53 yards away from you and me. I can't see it. Okay? So whatever you do, don't say any of those coaches anything that doesn't support your crew. I'm a firm believer in that. Don't bring those guys out there on the field and let them. This is another thing. This coach referee conference happens right in front of that box, that team box. He doesn't come out on the field. Don't let him follow you out there. I had one, the referee turned his back to walk out to ask something of the official that made the call, and the coach followed him out on the field. He was at midfield screaming and yelling. You, as that second official in that coach's referee conference, you tell him to stay right there. He'll be back. Okay? Everybody good?
Yeah, coach, he's a knucklehead. I don't like him either. I think he missed him.
So I wish you wouldn't say that to them about me. All right, so sometimes the teams want to talk about it. So they call a timeout, okay, if they still have timeouts. Now, you have authorized team conferences. There's two types of team conferences. You either have a conference outside the 9-yard mark. In that case, you've got one coach, outside the 9-yard mark. In that case, you've got all the coaches, all the players, all the non-players, the trainers, the cameraman, everybody. Or you have between the 9-yard marks, and it says in here that they had to be between the hash marks. So there's a little no man's land in there for these conferences. All right? So, outside the 9-yard marks, some of these fields will not have the numbers here, but they'll have a little hash marking where that 9-yard mark is. Okay? Out here, they can have everybody and their grandmother meet with them. In here, they have one coach, 11 players, and 3 people with a water bottle. Okay? All right. Yes, sir.
On outside the 9-yard mark timeouts, they have to go back to the team, even if A is about to score on 1 and they call a timeout, they're going to go all the way back.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But as a wing official, if they're at the 20 and they're all right there at it and it's just kind of going on and they've been behaving, I can probably work with that. If they've been less than stellar, I might encourage them to move on back. Get on back there, coach. Get on back there.
By rule. Now we'll teach how to officiate.
Let me say another thing since that's been asked. Wing officials, hang around with that huddle over there. Be there with them. Sometimes you'll hear something said that can help you do a better job officiating. More importantly, when the back judge blows his whistle to say it's time for people to get back out there, you can look at that coach and say, Coach, get them out. And you'll say it 5 times in the 15 seconds he's got left, and you'll still be rushing it. Okay? But one of your responsibilities as a wing official is to get those guys back on the field. Okay? All right, so we got 4th down. They get for 4th down. So they're now looking at having a scrimmage kick. Yes, sir. Ron, Mr. Paul?
Yeah, on those conferences, we have one in the center field, coaches are the officials on the sideline need to be sure that they have another one over there, the coach stays off the field.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Everybody understand that?
Say it again, over.
If there is between the hash marks conference with the head coach or offense coordinator, defense coordinator, and on the sideline there's another conference going on, that is not under the rules of the timeout conference, so they should be off the field. They shouldn't be gathered.
If all of the coaches are off the field and the player goes to the sideline to speak with somebody, that's not considered a conference.
Right. I mean, I've seen some teams, their quarterback will run all the way to the sideline to get to play after every single play.
Not a conference.
While we're on that topic, let me ask you a quick question. What is the South Carolina rules on if you're enforcing a penalty or you call a timeout and that coach is coaching from that sideline? What are your restrictions on that?
He can't come on the field.
So what if can he bring his player? You're enforcing a,
Yeah, sure.
bring him to the hash mark.
Yeah.
Anytime, bring it to the side.
Coach will come out there,
No,
he can talk to him from the sideline.
on the sideline.
Player can always go to,
Always, anytime,
player can go to the sideline anytime.
anytime.
So if you got a water break, you do water breaks here?
We give water breaks. We give heat and humidity timeouts is what we call them. And the key word there is a timeout. So we operate under the outside the 9-yard mark is what most of these guys want to do. There's very few teams that still have the between the hash marks conferences. Very few of them. Usually it's kind of a
If it's an
dictatorial.
official timeout, they can coach from the sideline.
If it's an official timeout, if it's an injury timeout, or it's a heat and humidity timeout, we are going to let them have that conference. That's our mechanic. That's not necessarily in the rule.
We still live in the real
But that's our, yeah, you know, we got to let these kids get water.
world. We officiate in the real world.
Okay? If you're over there getting water, I'm not gonna stand over there and say, don't you dare tell him how to make a reach block during this time.
Okay, Brian, junction days are over.
Yeah, we don't do that. If there's a timeout, the heat and humidity timeout, officials timeout, TV timeout. We have TV games.
Well, I'm not saying that I say, you got an injured player on the ground, you don't want to coach that professional player, you want to worry about the injured player.
If there's, what we generally do is that once it's obvious it's gonna take a little time to deal with that, we'll send the players to the sideline and say, get water. So we just kind of turn it into a heat and humidity timeout. And most of our more experienced referees are going to declare it, you know, if it's close to the midway point of the quarter, he's going to say heat and humidity timeout, get your trainers out here and get this kid fixed. Okay? So that's again, a lot of that has to do with the leadership of our referees. And you'll find that we have some high quality referees, particularly in this, you know, well, I wouldn't say particularly, I mean in this state, we have some high quality referees. They know what they're doing.
And we have Danny Calder.
That's right.
All right. Now, these are two rules here. This is one that Mr. Boland had to explain to me to get right for the water bucket play. Okay? These are scrimmage kick formations. They become real important on the numbering exceptions. The numbering exception is in another rule. It's not in the definitions. But the rule that it's in, Rule 6, I believe, refers you back to this scrimmage kick formation rule. Okay? So if we've got a fourth down play or a try, and you have a player with his knee on the ground 7 yards or more behind the scrimmage, and there's another player there to kick 3 yards or less behind, you have a scrimmage kick formation. The numbering exception is gone. The requirements for the numbering are in Rule 1, and it says that the offense has to have at least 5 players, number 50 through 79. This creates an exception. If it is first, second, or third down, you get the exception for 1 player. Generally going to be your snapper. I don't know how many of y'all knew Jimmy Spence if you've been around for a while. He's a judge here now. When he was in high school, he was his team's long snapper. Okay? Back then, in the 70s, he had to have a player run out there and give him another 50 jerseys to slip on so he could do it. The way the rule is now, he doesn't have to do that. Okay? The other type of scrimmage kick formation is that there's 1 player more than 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage ready to receive in the position. He can't be over there on the hash mark and the ball's in the center of the field. That's not practical. Okay? So what's happening is that we're creating a situation where they can put those running athletes on the field for a punt type scrimmage kick, or they can put the big meaty beefy guys out there for the field goal and try type scrimmage kick. Might be a defensive lineman that wears number 7. Right? Does that make sense? So that's that rule. And the reason that I kept looking at that and saying, well, wait a minute. If they're doing the water bucket, you got a snapper here, you got a holder here, you got a kicker back there, and then you got everybody else over there, then it's not a scrimmage kick formation. I kept saying that. Robbie said, no, there's only 3 people that matter. One's the snapper, one's the holder, one's the kicker. Okay? Everybody else, the number exception still applies no matter where they put them on the field. Okay? So you have a scrimmage kick. Holder, here we go back to the definitions of players. A holder is a player who controls the ball on the ground or on the kicking team. Kicker, legally punts, legally drop kicks, or legally place kicks. He can't run beyond the neutral zone and kick it. He loses all his protection, everything else. If he kicks it, what have we got? Illegal kick. How do we treat that kick?
Loose ball.
As a loose ball. Anybody can pick it up and run it. Okay? Don't blow it dead. Let them keep playing. Even if the offense picks it up and runs it. K picks it up and runs it. Let the play out. Just drop your flag where he picked it up. or drop a beanbag where he picked it up, drop the flag where it was kicked. Right? Okay. Let me say it enough times, I'll eventually get it right. Okay. This is talking about how we protect the kicker on a free kick. Snapper, we got to protect him. There's a lot of safety involved in those two rules. All right, so the kick's away. Almost done. Mama's waiting for you, me with supper. Legal scrimmage kick is any kick you enter beyond the neutral zone during scrimmage down. Either a place kick, punt, or a drop kick may be used. For a place kick, ball must be controlled on the ground or on a legal kicking tee by a teammate. Okay? Those are the legal kicks. Okay? In or behind. All right? Touching of a low scrimmage kick by players is ignored. If that ball hits the snapper in the back of the head and skips up in the air, goes through the uprights, it's good. That's all that's saying. Scrimmage kick recovery enter behind the neutral zone may be advanced by KRR. I remember seeing a video where the guy actually got the snap. He got the snap and had it like this, and he did kind of a rugby kick over there to a teammate out on the wing, and the guy took off and scored. Okay? You can advance it to your teammate by a kick as long as he gets it behind the line of scrimmage. Okay?
Bruce put that on the test, the fundamental, the second fundamental there.
Yes, sir.
He left off, unless it is during a try, took out about 80% of the people. Gets his jollies on stuff.
One of the things that he's doing there, if I may interject as an educator, one of the things he's doing there is he's making us remember that when a try is unsuccessful, the play is over. Right?
Thank you, Jay.
The moment you know that kick, a try, the moment you know it is unsuccessful, the play is over. Right?
He doesn't sign anymore.
It doesn't matter. If he's correct, he's correct.
Thank you, Jay.
What was that last statement again, sir? Say it again, oh?
Thank you. What?
The extra try for point
The try for
cannot
point
be advanced.
cannot be advanced.
It's a dead ball as soon as it crosses the line of scrimmage.
No, it's a dead ball as soon as you know it's not successful.
Well, I'm sorry, you're right.
The reason that's different is because if it's a field goal, a scrimmage kick, field goal on 4th down, okay, kicker kicks it, it doesn't go beyond the line of scrimmage for whatever reason, someone picks it up, they can advance it. R can go that way, K can go that way. If it's a try, he kicks it legally, it doesn't go beyond the line of scrimmage, the play's over. Start blowing whistles and make sure nobody gets hurt. They also can't advance it out of the end zone like Auburn did against Alabama. Because once it breaks the goal line, the play's dead. Just as a second note. Everybody good?
It's still no good. The try is still no good.
It hits the umpire in the head and skips up high. You better wait and see if it goes through or not.
And you know what happened?
If it hits the umpire in the head and starts drifting back toward the kicker, you need to blow it dead. Okay? All right. First touch of the scrimmage kick beyond the neutral zone, a new series will be awarded to the team in possession at the end of the down. Okay. K kicks the ball on a punt or a field goal. It goes beyond the line of scrimmage. It does not go into the end zone. And R touches it. Drop a beanbag. We got a spot of first touching. Right? The kick hasn't ended. All right? K touches. I'm sorry. Thank you. K touches it. See, that's what I said. Keep me straight. K touches it. We got the first touching. All right? Then R touches it and muffs it. That means he didn't gain possession. Whoever gets a hold of the ball next, it's their ball. Got to go back to the spot first.
Only if there's a foul in there.
If there's a foul in there, that changes it, right? So one of the things that's always talked about is if R is smart and they see his first touching, they're going to do everything they can to keep that ball alive and try and get in the end zone because they can always go back to the spot of first touching.
Even if they recover it and run it 50 yards downfield and then fumble it back?
They who? K or R?
Or?
Yes.
Yes.
After K touches it first.
After K
They
has
can
touched
still
it.
pick it up and run it, and if they fumble it, they just go back to the previous illegal touch.
Yes.
No, it's not illegal touch, it's the first touch.
It's a free pickup.
Not a foul that occurred back then.
No kick may be legally bad unless it's attempt to block the kick in or beyond the neutral zone. Okay, now what's that? And there's the exception in there where K can bat it toward their own goal line if there is no R player in position to catch it. Okay? Also be aware of this. I can't find it anywhere in the rule books. I've talked to people about it many times. But if you've got that leaping athlete that can get back there at the goal post and leap up in the end zone in front of the goal post and block it there, that's a legal bat. Understand what I'm saying? If the goal post is here and I'm a jumper and I can get up here and block it right here at the goal post, that's a legal bat. I can't find it anywhere in the rule book that says it can't do that. So you go back to the rule about what a rule is, and it doesn't say you can't do it, so we can. Okay?
Goaltending, you'd call it goaltending, wouldn't you?
The ball's in the end zone. All right? Goal line is vertical plane. It's a vertical plane. That's where we get into that real. Everybody hears that on TV all the time, so that's one that I think every league kind of handles their own way. Okay? This is also going to get into, it extends beyond the sideline. If you touch the pylon while you're in the air, you've broken the plane because the pylon is beyond the plane. The plane is the front edge of that line. That line's 4 inches wide. It's the front edge. Okay, remember that geometry class that you kept saying, I won't ever use any of that? Yeah, you do. You're using it now. You know what plane is. Right? You know perpendicular is. Parallel is. Possession of live, this has been on the exam a lot. I think we have a standard rule that if you miss that, you can't work after week 0. Okay? Okay, how did it get there? This is getting into the force. This is a very complicated issue. It only applies when it's going into B's end zone and the ball is inside the 5-yard line. Okay? Drop a beanbag where the force occurred. Make sure you can describe it to your crewmates.
No, anyway, that's momentum you think about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
From the field of
I'm
play
sorry.
to the end zone.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead because I was talking about momentum with someone else.
Yeah.
Force is the result of the energy this force. Okay, that has to do with how the ball get into the end zone. So if we have a block, if the youngster is punting from his own 15, it's blocked, hits the player, goes into the end zone. The kick forced it into the end zone, not the player who batted it, because the ball was still in the air. Now, if he blocked it, it hit the ground, and then he muffed it, he's now the one that's forcing it into the end zone. That changes everything. Right? Did I get it right that time? See, I get tired too. Responsibility for forcing the ball from the field of play across the attributed to the person who carries, snaps, passes, fumbles, or kicks. Right? This is all going to come up when we talk about scoring plays. That's rule 4, I believe. 8. Okay. Muffing or batting a pass, kick, or fumble and flop is not considered a new force, which I just gave you that example. Force is not a factor on kicks that go into R's end zone, since these kicks are always a touchback. Always a touchback. That's a big difference between us and the other levels of ball. Okay? Force is not a factor on backwards pass or fumble is cleared dead in the end zone of the opponent. Right, good? Okay, got kick, got first touching. Okay, scrimmage kick, first touching, the ball is touched by a K player in the field of play beyond the expanded neutral zone. Force touched by there by R, and the ball comes to rest. You can have lots of first touchings. Okay, and there's the fundamental. We have kind of already talked about this one. All right, everybody good? Take some time looking at that. Okay, the kick ends. When does the kick end? Can't be a touchback anymore once it ends. Okay, kick ends when the possession of the ball becomes dead, not player possession. That happens a lot on punts. Post scrimmage kick spot where the kick ends. Our back judges are going to drop a blue beanbag there. We're always going to know where that spot is because we got post scrimmage kick fouls occur. This is the type of foul that I said I would mention later. This is a list to learn. You'll do better on the exam and you'll do better on the field when you're working with your teammates if you work with this. Okay, go ahead and learn that one. So those are post-scrimmage kick fouls. What happens on that, this is why it's important, is that when all these factors are met, R is going to get to keep the ball, but we're going to enforce it from the post-scrimmage kick spot, the spot where the kick ended. Everybody got that? Make sense? So learn this list. They got to all be met. Any one of them's not met, then we're going to probably go back to the previous spot. Probably. Okay. This is one of the tricky ones that's come up recently. A penalty is accepted for any live ball foul by either team during the last time down of a period. Period must be extended by an untimed down except for unsportsmanlike fouls, non-player fouls, fouls that specify a loss of down, or fouls that specify 3-3-4.
We're going over that.
I'm done.